Hey guys, welcome back to the AddMeGamers channel. This is Dan, and today I'm going to be discussing money maintenance, profit, and armor as requested by one of the users posted. I do believe it's MH1. He did post in regards that if we talk about armor, because he's having problems in terms of keeping up the armor or always having completely healthy armor. That means the helmets, the body kits, and the pants. This is the only thing you can't repair. I'm going to be probably saying also a few spoilers, so here and there, so if you don't want to spoil the game, I suggest you want to watch this. Otherwise, what I would recommend, when this game was designed, it really wasn't designed to cover all possibilities. For example, the one mistakable presumption people have when playing back in action is that you shouldn't be losing sectors when you're progressing. The actual main base principle of the game was when you progress that you actually lose sectors as you move forward, and then you retake them, and then you lose them again, and then you retake them. You know, that was the main idea. The developer, especially when I was talking to Michael, he had that in mind, that you should be losing sectors in the game. People, of course, didn't understand that that was the principle, or that was the sort of way the game was supposed to be played, and of course, you know, they got sort of pissed off that, you know, we're losing sectors and it's too hard, and you know, you should be losing sectors in the game. You know, you should jump to another sector while you lose one, and then you jump back to retake it, and then you jump forward. So this is just to get one thing out there, that you should lose sectors when you progress, and then you should retake them over again as you progress in the game. That's of course unless you're using the strategic move sort of cheat, you know, where you can jump from map to map without like wasting any time. But that spoils the whole game completely whatsoever, because all the enemies stay at level 1 and you just mop them up. So don't do that. Now, unless you don't want to enjoy the game as it was meant to be played, that's up to you. Now, in terms of armor maintenance and in general maintenance and how to keep money, it is very expensive to repair or buy armor in general. Your spectral leggings, your vest, your helmet. The actual armor degrades when it's being hit. So advice I have in terms of making your armor last longer: don't get hit, don't get shot at. It's very simple. You know, use cover, crouch, preferably go into the prone stance. It's much more difficult for the enemy to hit you if you're lying down. You know, and not every hit that you get from the enemy, every bullet will do armor damage, will reduce your actual durability of the armor. So keep that in mind. That's like the main hint I can give you in terms of keeping your armor healthy, like to keep it useful for a longer time. You know, always try to get hit as least as possible. If you're charging in, all out charging in, and you're getting shot at ridiculously, and you're just doing it for the sake of that you can mop it up, of course your armor is going to degrade very fast because you're not going about it smartly. If you go at it more strategically, tactically, you really rarely do get hit, and that armor does survive a pretty long time. The majority of people that go about it are probably going about it slightly wrong. You're being too aggressive. You have to sort of flank them, you have to catch them off, you have to try to be in positions that only one of the enemies can aim and hit you and target at you. Hide behind a certain building where only one enemy on the left side can only hit you, and the guy on the right can't because there's a building in his way. You know, try to always go around the buildings and get into positions that makes it more difficult for other enemies to hit you. If you're playing Fog of War, obviously you don't know where the any other enemies are, but you can hear them. It's pretty easy. Get somebody with high perception, move them around the map, and you can hear all the movements. Of course, in bigger towns it's complicated because you can also hear citizens, civilians, so you don't know who's who. But you can sort of tell by the movements in terms of if they're enemy or not. Usually the enemies stay in fixed positions. There's always a very small percentage of enemies roaming around. So that's pretty easy to tell who's who. Now, also in terms of armor maintenance and upkeep, it's very expensive. As I said, it's 5,000. So try to get hit. That's try to get at least possible shot at. That's the first thing. And the second thing, what I do is don't always buy new armor at the moment it runs out. You'd be surprised. What I do, or my strategy is to buy armor like when I'm really going in for a main sector. For example, if I'm going in for a roadblock, I'm not going to bother buying new armor. You know, if my armor's worn down, screw it. You know, whatever. You know, if it's completely worn down, I just throw it off and I go there without any body armor. If I'm going like for a main sector like Cambria, you know, I'll buy new armor. I'll put in new armor. If I'm going down, I'm moving down to Balim. I'll put on you armor. It's a big city. There's a lot of enemies, and there's a lot of high level enemies as well. When you click on a city, you can see the level of enemies. You know, level 1, 2s aren't really that bad. Level 3s, 4s are sort of becoming painful. 4, especially, and 5 are really painful. So when you're dealing with a lot of level 1 and 2s and even 3s, you know, don't really worry much about the armor, because the damage isn't really a lot, especially if you're at a large distance. A large distance also reduces the amount of damage you are. So the further away you shoot at the enemy, the better it is, because you do get less damage, and of course less damage to the armor itself. Remember, the bullet that actually hits you also has a percentage chance of how it works. It reduces armor and then does damage to you. So there's a percentage of it actually reduced by armor. So every bullet has a separate percentage ratio in terms of how effective it is in piercing the armor. You know, the lower piercing rate of armor, you know, the higher amount of the damage the armor absorbs. So for example, a 50 caliber sniper, which is the biggest caliber in the game, gets absorbed very little by armor because it flies right through the armor. Of course, 9mm bullets, when you're getting shot at by a level 1 guy who has 9mm bullets from close range, he will absorb the armor a lot, because the damage is mainly absorbed by the armor, because the 9mm has very low piercing rate in terms of armor, you know, or the 38 caliber. Small calibers have a very low percentage of piercing armor. They do get absorbed a lot by the armor, and of course the closer you are, the more damage. So for example, if I'm 5 meters away and I get shot by 38, you know, then I should be getting 30 damage or 20 damage, but that damage will be converted. Some of it will be absorbed by armor, and since it's a 38, it's a small caliber, so 70% would be absorbed by my armor, which is quite a lot, you know. And of course, if I'm further away, the same thing with the 38 caliber gun. If I'm further away, like, I don't know, 20, 30 meters, instead of getting the 30 damage or 20 damage or whatever I said, you'd only get, like, I don't know, 7. And out of that, 30% would be absorbed by your armor, which means whatever, you'd get like 4.5 points knocked off your armor. So that's also a good thing to keep your armor like sustainable. You know, try to attack from far range. If you're going close, make sure you have a melee guy. Like if you're going close, make sure you're going for the kill. Make sure the guy has an axe or has a knife and go at him. You know, in Crossfire you can use the scimitars. They're amazing. Okay, they have a longer range and they're much better. So also in back in action, you gotta understand it was sort of a test phase when they were making this game. So they really haven't placed as many armor depots or armor containers around the map. You have some armor, of course, in the barracks, you know, beside Groom Industrial City. And you do have also another couple of, you can say, containers that hold armor. San Monet also has one. San Monet, you have the armory there. So you have a lot of armor there. So you can go in to find armories in these locations. You know, San Monet has an armory. You can get armor there. You have, of course, Tixa Prison, I do believe you have some armor there. You have San Monet, as mentioned before. Groom City, you have an armor guy. You can get some armor there. So that these places can supply you armor for free. So what I mainly do actually is I rarely buy armor unless I'm going in for a big town. Like if I'm going in for Groom City, if I'm going in for the barracks, you know, if I'm going in for San Monet. You know, if I'm going in for small sections and I have low armor, don't bother upgrading it, because there's so little people and there's so little damage you're bound to get. And anyways, with the amount of people in those small sectors and with the amount of mercenaries you have, you can always outflank them and you know, strategically you can always outmaneuver them strategically. So really they should get very minimum shots off at you, if possible even none. Because if you're going in with 3-4 mercenaries to one of these sectors later on in the middle game or in the middle beginning game, you should pretty much take them all out without them getting at you many shots. So this is pretty it in terms of armor, what I could advise you to do. Of course, another thing that's sort of linked to armor is money management. I did talk about this in a couple of my tutorials. You can always check the links below. There's a playlist which has all the tutorials in terms of how to manage your money. You gotta manage your money smart. You gotta make sure you don't spend your money for stupid stuff. The majority of money I get in the game is mainly obviously from the sectors. I sell everything. Like, I mean everything. I sell everything and I harvest money. What I do is when I'm leaving that sort of region, I sell everything I could possibly sell to that merchant so I can absorb all his money. For example, the merchant has a stockpile of 10,000 cash. I sell everything that I can to get that 10,000 stockpile of cash. Okay, and then if I'd move into another section, for example, on the top right, I'd sell everything in the city right below the airport. You know, hold on, what is it? Dresden City. So right below Dresden City, I'd sell everything I can to that merchant to harvest that 1,000 or 2,000 cash he has. And then I'd buy some stuff in Cambria. Since I know I'm going to stick around the Cambria location for quite a while, then I'd buy some stuff of Cambria, so I'd inject that 2,000 cash to that merchant in Cambria, so he'd have more money. You know, the same principle applies when I'm sort of leaving the Cambria area and I'm going to another location. You know, usually when I leave Cambria, you know, you usually start up from up, then you move down to Cambria, you stick there for a while because you got to go to the farms and the SAM sites and you got a bunch of work you got to do there. And then once you're done with the Cambria section, then you move to the west towards Groom Industrial Park. You know, and towards Groom Industrial Park, you have another merchant. So before I leave or before I migrate to the west, again, I sell everything I could possibly sell. I always keep a couple of items in the sector for that final selling. You know, to clean the merchant out of his money, to harvest that money and move that cash, that liquid cash, to another merchant. You know, because the thing is, you're always going to buy and trade with these merchants. You're always going to buy and trade, and of course, the more money the merchant has, the more you can buy and trade different weapons and items and sell your stuff. And the money keeps rotating. You have to understand, you're cycling the money. You're cycling the same amount of cash. And when you're harvesting all the money throughout all these merchants as you're moving through the map, you're always increasing the supply the merchant has. For example, the guy in Groom, I don't know, but like, let's say he'd have 10,000 cash. But because I harvested all the money from the guy in Dresden, and I harvested all the money from the guy in Cambria, you know, I harvested, let's say, all the money they have, and that's another 10,000, and then I'd go to the guy in Groom City, and then I'd buy stuff off him, so I'd give him an additional 10,000. You know, obviously I'd buy the stuff I need, not stupid stuff that I don't need. But like, you understand, the moment I'm buying stuff I need, don't think of it as buying and selling anymore. I am in a way putting my money back into him so I can keep rechanging and retrading. And with a higher supply line of cash, the more I can trade and sell. So this is the same thing. And when you're done with Groom Industrial Park, you usually move up to San Monet. And the same thing, but before I leave Groom, you know, I again harvest all the cash I have. I sell everything I have, all the, you know, sort of trash items or extra items I have in the sector, I keep them, you know. So I have enough to clear them up. You know, I know that the merchant is going to have a maximum of 20,000 maximum cash. You know, so when I sell everything, he's going to have, when I sell everything, I mean, he can only maximum supply me with 20,000 cash. So before I leave, I want to sell enough merchandise that I take that 20,000 cash off him before I go, because I want to give that 20,000 cash to the guy in San Monet. So now the guy in San Monet, instead of having 30,000, which he has starting off, he's going to have 50,000, which means I can run around San Monet and do more trades, and more effectively I can make money. See, maintaining armor is not only about maintaining armor and buying new armor sets. It's also, you have to strategically think about maintaining your economy and money. There is a tutorial in terms of, I discuss about money, so you can check it. I do believe it might be the general tutorial. I have so many I can't remember which one it is in. But my advice to you is you sell everything. Everything that, even items that give you $1 in profit. You sell absolutely everything, and when you move from sector to sectors, you grab all the shit you can possibly grab. You grab everything that your inventory can hold, especially when you know you're moving into a main city. For example, if you're on the outskirts dealing with hideouts and roadblocks and stuff, and you know you're moving into a main city, obviously there's going to be a merchant. So you fill up your merchants as much as possible with all the garbage. Obviously you pick the most expensive as priority first, especially with the sector inventory. You can see the value of each item. So you pick the one with the highest value. You pick up all the items with the highest value, even if it's rum bottles, anything. Teddy bears. Teddy bears are a good amount of money. They're like 40 bucks. You know, you have devices, you know, the iPhone device. You know, you stock up with all that stuff, and when you reach that sector, you drop all the stuff on the ground. Then you fight, you clean it, you kill all the enemies. You don't need to pick it up. Remember, you have sector inventory. Then you go to the merchant, and from the sector inventory, you can directly sell all the stuff that you dropped on the ground, and you get more cash. Like, you have to really, truly, effectively suck the map dry of every possible dollar and dime that you can. You know, that way it'll make it even easier for you to keep rebuying more armor. You know, I never had that issue because I did have plenty of money. In general, I did have plenty of money because I really sucked the map dry. You have to suck every possible position dry. When you're going back to a town, you know, make sure you grab all the stuff, everything, even the useless stuff. You know, every dollar counts, especially when you're gonna have a lot of it. You gotta still make a lot of money. Later on, you're gonna have mule mercs. I always have a pack of, let's say, 2-3 mule mercs. You know, two, three like mercenaries that I get in the game. In the beginning you might use them a little bit, but then they become useless. So all I do with them is they just travel around the map while I'm moving to different maps, of course, picking up stuff from the area. You know, they come into the area, open up sector inventory, load up the most expensive shit, and move them back to a town to sell it. Again, when you're using mule mercs, make sure that that money is liquidable. Make sure when you're moving, your main tank is moving down. You know, make sure that your main tank is moving with the main money ball. Remember, you're harvesting the money and moving down with your main tank. So your mule mercs, majority of times they might be jumping from town to town, different towns. You know, I usually don't do that anymore when I start having a mule pack. When I already have a mule group that just transports stuff, they're just transporting stuff from my main tank group that's moving forward. Because the main tank groups, when it kills off and it clears up these maps, there's so much drops that I don't need to deal with small little items in different maps. So all that does is actually just transport stuff from where my main tank group finally took over to the latest position of my merchant, which I actually filled up and harvested up. But in case you do have two separate, you can say, money stations. Keep your main tank army having the largest money station, so make sure when you're harvesting and moving your money across the map with your main tank that has the most money, and then your mule pack that's moving around has a small amount. I don't know, give them like a liquidity of 10,000 cash should be more than enough, you know. So they should just sell and buy and move with them the 10,000 cash as they move around the map separately. So this is in terms of dealing with money. You have to deal with money to be able to get all the armor you need. The majority of the time I didn't have issues when I managed my money properly. I never had issues with buying armor. Obviously I couldn't afford every time to have the completely armored up set of equipment for especially all my mercs. Especially when you start getting 4 or 5, it becomes very expensive. But by that time you do bump into places where there's armor stashes, so you equip yourselves for free, you know. And also when you are effectively you gotta repair effectively. Check my repair tutorial out, so you don't waste items that you don't need, so you don't buy items that you don't need with repairs. You gotta heal effectively, again, so you don't waste items that you don't need, and so you don't buy these healing items that you don't need. The tutorials in the tutorial playlist below. All these things will make you save a lot more money. Saving a lot more money means you can afford to buy more stuff. Generally, I rarely ever ordered from Tommy or Bobby Ray's shop, because I don't really need it. There's so much money, especially quests that give you money. You have, remember when you move down from Dresden Airport, I do believe it might be in that water pump map or the one beside it, I'm not sure. You have that small little hut on the top right of the map. Exactly when you enter, there's that hut. You got a diamond stash there. You know, you can sell the diamond for 45k. You know, the guy in the airport, he wants you to find his diamonds. Screw him. I never give him the diamonds. I sell his diamonds. That's another 45k. You know, he has the secret hideout placed below. You know, below Alma at those mountains. Okay, you can pick lock your way in much later on in the game. You need a high skill to pick lock your way in. You can get money from there as well. You know, you have a lot of money stashes around the map as well. A lot of quests give you a lot of cash. You know, if you repair effectively, efficiently, and correctly, you'll save a lot of cash because you don't need to buy a lot of toolkits. You know, toolkits are quite a big expense in this game. Medical equipment is also quite a big expense in this game. Use your medical items as much as possible. The shitty ones, use them all. Use them effectively. Check the tutorials out that I have. You know, you'll spend less money. You will have more money. You will buy more stuff. Generally, I don't order in any whatsoever items in terms of Bobby Ray. The only thing I might order in later on might be ammo. That's about it. That's all I need is ammo. All the items I find, remember, you get rare drops, you get better items in the game, so there's no point in buying actual weapons from Bobby Ray. So all I order from Bobby Ray is ammo. I order maybe ammo and a couple of grenades for my grenade launcher, or maybe some rockets for my rocket launcher. Even rockets you have plenty of. Grenades are more fun. And I buy grenades. That's grenades, stun grenades, smoke grenades, and ammo. That's practically all I order from Bobby Ray. Later on, you do find a lot of toolkits, so that's pointless. You can save a lot of money, which means you have a lot of money in general, which means you can buy a lot of these armor types. So, to sum it up, try to get hit as least as possible. Try to flank him. If you're being too aggressive, of course, your armor is going to be degraded very quickly. You know, also, put on shirts. A t-shirt. A t-shirt gives you 1 armor. Why not? You know, why should I absorb that a 1 hit point hit if my t-shirt can absorb it? Yes, the t-shirt, you know, gets degraded very quickly and you throw it out. But you have so many t-shirts in the game that who really cares? You know, I do believe the military or leather jacket shirts give you 2 armor. You know, why not? You have an additional 2 armor over your actual armor vest. You know, use shirts. Use a lot of shirts. I use a shitload of shirts. I keep replacing them because you find them all over the place. Who really cares how you look? Unless you want to look aesthetically matching and you have this whole camo thing going with you, then okay, fine, I understand. But like, I really don't care. I just put on any shirt I can find. You know, that absorbs as much as damage as possible. And of course, my shirt absorbing damage prevents my armor from absorbing damage. You know, so that also prevents your armor from absorbing damage in general. So, and finally, use and consume everything very effectively. That meaning your medical and your tool items. You know, you use and consume those properly, you save a lot of money, you can buy more of it. You know, so get hit as least as possible. Be smart, don't be aggressive. You know, flank, do quests that give you money. You have a lot of items in the game that give you a lot of money. Sell everything you can get your hands on. Everything you can get your hands on. You're going to have plenty of money. Really, if you do this, you will come maybe to 2-3 points in the game when you're like, you know, I don't have any armor. But, you know, it's okay. Never mind. You know, that may happen 1 or twice. But majority of time, you will have all your units armored up. And especially in the later game, you're going to have so much damn money that it really doesn't matter. And since I released where the location of the Dahanko cereals are, and that's another 150,000. So there's really no point in the armor. And when you actually get the Dahanko cereals, then you can just order in more armor. You can just make an order just plainly just for armor. You can order in spectral armor all you want. You can order in, I don't know, 20, 30 of them if you want. Then you can send your mules to pick them up by the time it arrives and move back down. So this is about it. And Crossfire, actually, it's more balanced out. You have more locations. More, you can say, stashes of armor around the map. More, I mean, like gameplay wise, it's reasonable. It's not like you have everywhere, but like you do have. And I do believe also the armor doesn't get degraded as quickly in Crossfire when I played it. So I really didn't have an issue with armor in Crossfire. Really, I played a third, maybe half of the actual map, and I still had plenty of armor. You know, again, I got hit very little, and I was playing, I guess, pretty well. So that might be a factor. So this is about it. I hope I helped you guys out. Give it a thumbs up if I did. If you have any other questions, just leave your comments down below. And I'm looking forward to covering Crossfire. I'm nearly completing my walkthroughs for that, so that'll be coming up soon. And of course, with a whole batch of other Crossfire videos that'll be coming in coverage for that the moment it gets released, as well as the trailer. So happy gaming. I hope I helped you out. I'm sure I did. This really will work. Don't worry about the cash. If you effectively move and strategically move around the map and take your targets out without getting hit, if you harvest the money and use your medical and toolkit repairs as effectively as possible, you'll have so much money, or not so much, you'll have a reasonable amount of money, and some points in time you'll realize when you move to the main maps that, yeah, you know, I will buy new armor for this map, it's worth it. You know, that happens 2-3 times in the game. But, you know, sometimes you move around with very little armor, if none, for smaller sectors. You know, that's fine as well. Don't think you always have to have full armor. That's a thing that people perceive that shouldn't be made. So this is it. Happy gaming, and see you guys in my other video. Bye.